So Nersa's decision to hike Eskom's tariff by 18.65% is receiving widespread rejection. The Federation of Unions of South Africa says the increase should not be implemented and the decision should be revisited. Fedusa says the increase will hit many South Africans hard as it will lead to price hikes for basic goods and necessities. The union says citizens are paying a high price for electricity they are rarely using due to the constant blackouts. Now it wants President Cyril Ramaphosa to provide solutions to the electricity crisis during his State of the Nation address later this month. Let's discuss this more with Fedusa's General Secretary, Riefdah Ajam. Thank you very much for joining us, Riefdah. And I mean, it's not just an indictment on the South African consumer or household with the tariff hike that we're going to be seeing in April. South African businesses, particularly small and medium businesses, which are currently also some of the biggest employers at the moment, are going to feel the tariff increase quite harshly as well.
Yes, indeed. First and foremostly, thank you very much for the opportunity and good morning to you and your viewers. It's not just an insult. It is absolutely disingenuous right now for Nersa to even be affording this increase to Eskom, considering over and above the fact that we were looking towards the policy that had been finalized and endorsed during COVID-19 as a way to reconstruct and recover this economy. So you are 100% correct. It not just affects small businesses who contribute extensively towards GDP, but it will trigger off an influx of insolvencies. It will trigger off an influx of Section 189 retrenchment processes, and workers will stand to be in the first line of shooting, firing that line. And most certainly, yes, we are looking at businesses equally so, where we have taken arms in terms of the pandemic, but also in terms of the reconstruction and recovery. And this increase, and even the considering of this increase, knowing full well that Eskom cannot even keep on the lights, is simply an insult and a smack into the face of not just workers, but desperate South Africans who are trying to make ends meet on a daily basis.
And so as for Fedusa, what would you say should be an alternative and more immediate as well as realistic solution to the crisis that we are seeing at Eskom, apart from the tariff increase? You're quite right. It's unsustainable to assume that consumers can be the only source of revenue for Eskom via Nersa's tariff increases. So in the interim, as a form of immediate action, what would you say as Fedusa needs to be done?
Well, there's a host of things that needs to be done at this stage, considering that we have been through rigorous discussions, not only dealing with the Eskom compact that spoke to issues of recovering debts that Eskom has in terms of creditors. You are looking at a plethora of municipalities that owes Eskom millions and close to billions. Why have they not vigorously implemented that plan? During the time of the former CEO, we have seen moves towards recovery. Now we are moving into a completely different trajectory where a new CEO has to be brought on board, and we're facing continued difficulties. They are failing to implement and ensure that there are proper maintenance plans. The mere fact that each time scheduled maintenance is put into motion, we are finding that Eskom is simply unable to maintain the schedules of bringing those power stations back onto the grid to ensure reliable and sustainable energy to South African consumers in particular. And what we want to see right now is not just implementation of these plans, but we want to see proper maintenance schedules. The president has to ensure that we drive the process of recovery, because without electricity, South Africa has absolutely nothing to offer. It is the powerhouse of Africa at this stage, and the rest of the world are looking to us as absolute idiots right now. We are here to lead, but we are unable to provide the proper guidance. So President Ramaphosa needs to, with absolute conviction, come to the party during his State of the Nation address and demonstrate and tell South Africans what he is able to do, failing which the likes of your rating agencies will be waiting in watch to determine what the next steps are going to be. So as those social compacts have been developed, we now need to take up arms and make sure that government provides the leadership that it continuously talks about but fails to decisively deliver on.
Yeah. And finally, and very briefly, if you could, Riefdah, the call by the ANC to move Eskom to the Department of Energy from the Department of Public Enterprises, do you think that might help the situation at the ailing power utility somewhat?
It would be premature to be able to give a proper analysis of that particular matter. I emphasize once again, this is a matter of implementation, and this is a matter of being able to vigorously implement when there are plans. We have seen Eskom under the department or the Ministry of State-Owned Enterprises under Minister Godan. What we now need to see is that all these plans are carefully put into motion, failing which you are just jumping from the pot into the pan and nothing concise is going to be finalized unless we are determined to save South Africa, unless we are determined to acknowledge, and the ANC must acknowledge, that the country is in crisis, failing which we are all doomed, failing which all those Section 189 processes will continue to be set in motion. Liquidations will continue to be the order of the day, and all the small businesses and all the hopes of the recovery during the festive season now in terms of your sectors such as tourism and hospitality will continue to go down the same route, that they have to shut their doors, and workers and businesses over the long period will face a future of absolute demise.
Thank you very much for those insights. That's Fedusa's General Secretary, Riefdah Ajam, joining us this morning to speak about those issues that we are seeing.